back to another stream. We should be live. I'm just checking that everybody can hear us. Just triple checking. If so, then that is perfect. So yes, how is everybody? We've got, of course, we're doing part two.
Live. We're live. Okay.
So we're doing part two to our predictions that we started last week because there was so much to talk about, so we thought we're doing two parts. So this is part two of that. So yes, we've got Iris saying in the chat, ready, good. So of course we do have less people today, but it's still going to be an exciting discussion because first of all we have the man himself, Jason Charles Miller. Hello, my friend.
How are you? Good to see you. How's the light, Harry?
Still not fixed, so we might be having a few occurrences again, but hoping maybe be getting a light from you soon, maybe.
Yeah, just I need that address.
Fair enough. And also next to him we have, as usual, the man himself, Gregory. Hello there.
Hello, Harry. I think you are like one of the Eldar. You shine with the light from within. So you look just fine to me.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, that's what happened. His light keeps getting stolen from time to time.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Yeah, devoured by Ungoliant.
Yes. Well, let's hope that's actually not the case, because then, well, what's that line again? We did it last week. Something around first of a touch of darkness in order to find the light. So joining us, of course, not face cam, but he's still there in mind and maps, because he gives us a lovely array of maps. We have Lucas from the YouTube channel Tolkien. Is it Elclart? Did I pronounce that wrong?
It's like an E.
Like
Good evening.
Evening. And let's see. And chat is looking good today. We have Varlock here, Facility Rizois. Hello. Don't walk into the light. Indeed. So we touched on mainly Celebrimbo, Halbrand, Adar. I think some stuff about Gilgalad. I didn't think we too much into Gilgalad, but the main thing that we didn't really touch upon was the island kingdom of Numenor, and maybe even, there we go, that's the first instance, and maybe even Isildur himself. But so yeah, it's an interesting thing because it has been. Numenor was. Let's first of all talk about Numenor on the show, because personally, I'm not sure if this is quite a controversial opinion, but I felt like it was kind of on the back pedal for the first season. I don't think episode 3 we did get quite a bit, but I just think for the start of the season we saw it, but then further along, moved to the Southlands, we only got a bit in episode 8 with Palantir's death. So do you feel like that's a fair assessment, Jason, or do you disagree?
Oh no, definitely. I mean, especially since the first 2 episodes didn't touch it at all, really. It definitely felt like a back burner situation. And I think as fans, we were anticipating that the first 2 episodes, I remember hearing at one point that the first 2 episodes would actually be a retelling of everything up until now, and like a sort of 2-hour movie of just talking about the First Age. Remember that rumor?
Yep, that was a while ago.
So then going to Numenor in episode 3 made a lot of sense, but not going to it until episode 3, it did feel like it was certainly a secondary story. So I'll be interested to see what they do now. I mean, I've got to think they're going to really step it up.
Yeah, let's see if chat, do you guys agree? I think we have Kieran and Cohen already saying, yeah, they gave us enough for it to make sense. I saw the little storylines there, but then, of course, hopefully further along, we'll actually forgot I'm actually doing this today. So, yeah, I can get the comments up on screen. So, yes, hopefully we do get to see a lot more locations in Numenor next season. And Gregory will extend that. Do you think there's any characters that you would like to see in the next season from Numenor, but which you didn't think maybe we did get enough of a light on in the first one?
Well, first of all, I'll say I didn't mind that we didn't spend as much time in Numenor in this first season. First of all, the season was fragmented enough, with all the different storylines we were jumping in between. And I thought we were in Numenor for sort of, I loved the intro to Armenelos and everything, and is just stunning and beautiful. But ultimately, and I think this is also served by the fact that they had so many COVID restrictions and they couldn't have too many extras and stuff. I don't mind that we didn't spend too much time looking at the glory of Numenor, because I think they'll probably be able to encapsulate that better going forward with fewer restrictions. In terms of characters, I mean, I am looking forward to seeing the rift, sort of Elendil's ascension to power on one hand and Pharazôn's ascension to power on the other hand. And I think that there's, if they really dig into it, there's going to be so much room for like intrigue and the way they unfold the story in Numenor in seasons, I would say probably 2 and 3, and I think 4 is my guess is 4 is going to be when we see the downfall.
Yep, and I think the thing that's quite strong for the Numenor storyline, there are quite a lot of canon events that we do still need to see. So yeah, I think we'll touch upon something later. We've already seen the discussion in chat about, maybe this is the season Pharazôn gets his ascension. We'll get into that. I think that's an interesting point. But Lucas, I think it's still safe to say that once we finish off our chat for Numenor in season 1, that do you feel like that visually wise they did it justice? I think, for example, I think the one big thing they did, it seems like they've made Armenelos also be this out on the coast. Was that a big thing? Oh wait, it looks like Lucas is gone. So I'm asking that to myself. So in the meantime, actually, I'll just answer that question. So it's interesting that they made Armenelos. Here we have on screen right now the capital, but I think it was necessary in a way, because of course television, I'm sure in the next season hopefully we're going to be seeing where Enarion is, so forth. So I do think where he's on the east side of the island. Yes, I think Andrew said we did lose Lucas 5 minutes ago, but look, he is back. So yeah, we'll get back to
he's back.
Yes, we will get back.
You were bringing up Eärien, and I don't know, this might be, I don't know if I want to give this as like a fully throated thing, but this is just an idea that's been playing in the back of my mind. We don't really hear about, obviously she's a character that's been created for the show. There's so many different ways they can unfold that. And I think the way they're leaning right now is that she ends up being in the camp with Pharazôn, and maybe that is a rift in the family. But there's also been all this talk of Black Numenorians and the eventual fall, Nazgûl that come out of that. And I just think how interesting it would be if Eärien ended up being one of the Nazgûl, and it's sort of like the shame of the family that they never speak of, and it gives this sort of personal component to the enmity that Isildur and Elendil have towards Sauron.
I do think that is a really interesting point, and yeah, let's actually touch upon Eärien and her character for a bit. So first of all, Lucas, you back? You good?
Yes, I think so. I hope you can hear my voice.
Yes.
Good.
Indeed. So yeah, do you hear what Gregory said? Do you have anything else to add around the character of Eärien?
I don't know if she will be a Nazgûl, but I think she will tell Pharazôn about what she saw in the Palantir. Because the thing is, I think your thought comes from that she isn't mentioned anywhere in the lore, and that is the reason why she is the shame of Isildur, Elendil, and Anarion. But Tolkien wrote about that very topic, that Numenorians didn't and Gondorians didn't write down the females in the family trees, or also males if they weren't important. So Tolkien just was lazy and he had some explanation for why he didn't write full family trees. But it is a possibility, because we only know one name of the Nazgûl, and that is Khamûl. So it can happen.
The Easterling.
Yes.
Indeed. And I think let's see what the chat are saying about it. Actually, no, can't put that one up. got Ayardian would be too much for my guitar. Yeah, she does. Looking at her right now, she does like. I do like the idea of her showing what she saw in the planted to Farazon, and that aiding, of course, Farazon into trying to claim that power. And I think, let's just go full into it. Jason, do you think this is the season that Farazon will ascend to power?
I mean, if he doesn't at the beginning of the season, he definitely does by the end. That just put a thought in my head too of Arian sharing with him her view in the Palantir, and then that inspires him, or partially inspires him to want to invade Valinor. And of course, we read in the books that it was Sauron that whispered in his ear that, if you just step on the land, you'll become immortal, or something to that effect. But maybe he's also doing it to try to prevent the vision from happening. Now that she shared it with him, that's totally possible too. Really? Then again, if he does seize power, then that gives him access to the Palantir, you would think. And therefore, he would see the vision himself. Or maybe it's just as simple as there's going to be a romance between her and his son.
I think that's actually a really interesting point. I am on the boat that Kemen and Iardian, there is going to be something between them. And I think let's pull this up quickly. I like to hear people's thoughts. So Blue Milk Mama says, I think she'll be a pro Farazon / Kemen right until she realizes that they were the ones responsible for getting her into the guild and are manipulating her. That is, Gregory, what are your thoughts on that?
Quick question. Is that something that we actually already saw and I just missed it in my watch? Was it clear that they got her into the guild or no?
Actually, that's a good point. I think she just got accepted herself. So,
or at least,
you might be right.
If this is the case, it hasn't been revealed yet. So it's a prediction in of itself.
Yeah, prediction.
Oh, you mean like that she got in by them, like by nepotism, basically?
A wee bit of nepotism,
Okay. Now, I don't think they revealed that yet, but I mean, it totally could be a card that
I
they
didn't
play.
think so either. I just thought maybe I missed it because this is a very confident prediction on the part of whoever put this comment. But I mean, it would definitely be. I mean, it's a very cool prediction. I mean, I think that would be a really interesting way of going about it. That perhaps Farazon was saying, "Hey, this Elendil guy, I'm a little worried about him, and Kemen, I need you to get close to this girl. We're going to get her into the guild so that we can keep an eye on the family, and perhaps even like broker, maybe a peace. Like if Farazon sees Elendil as a power threat. I mean, this gets a little Game of Thronesy here, but the families joining in power is definitely a tack that I could see Farazon taking.
That would be manipulation to a high degree. So I do like that possibility. I think we should treat that as a prediction as of right now. I think that's a fair way. That's a fair way to look at it. So
Oh, and before we move on, can I just say I was really pleased with the casting and the performance of the actor playing Farazon. I thought he did a great job and gave me the vibes of Farazon that I had in my own head, and I'm waiting to see what will happen after that. Maybe he'll turn into the Denethor of the 1980 Return of the King animated movie.
That would be quite a thing. Do you think we'll finally, maybe that'll be the first fully faithful Denethor that we'll see on screen? Maybe. Who knows? We'll see it through the eyes of Farazon. Yeah,
Jason, I had never imagined Farazon pre leadership role. Pre being King of Numenor, and so it's I find this interpretation very interesting because it's just a side of him I had never really paid attention to. I guess whenever I read the Akalabeth, I sort of just skipped past the part where he wasn't the king yet, really.
Right. I mean, there wasn't that much about it. There was probably just a few paragraphs, but
Yeah.
One
It's just sort of how I
sentence.
imagine in my head he might be, you know.
His look is A+.
Yep.
I mean, what a cool character.
Indeed. And I think Blue Milk Mama got back to us, say they didn't accept her into the guild and they suddenly reconsidered after Kemen started chatting her up. So maybe that's like a speculation prediction on her, John. And of course, we got this. Everybody's thoughts on this. Kemen has the worst haircut I have ever seen.
Yep.
So that is fair enough. Fair enough. I think we'll get back to Farazon in a bit. Actually, let's end the poll now. Ooh, we've got 89% saying Farazon will ascend to power in the next season.
In the theme of keeping this sort of prediction oriented, to Jason, to your point about this season and Farazon ascending to power, I think that's going to be maybe not a full like cliffhanger, but I think it's going to be like a last episode or penultimate episode thing driving that storyline forward into season 3 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we see sort of the gradual move throughout the season, and then, like you said, a cliffhanger at either 7 or 8. Because you know, I don't know, but then again, these showrunners love to drag things out, so maybe it'll be 2 seasons of build up. I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
The fall will happen at the end of, or hopefully at the end of season 4. And I think we will have a lot of that Farazon and Miriel play. And I think at the end of the season, the people will have no trust in Miriel, and he proposes to her that a way for keeping this monarchy up is for him to marry her.
Yeah, that's a good.
I like that.
Yeah, and I think why not? Let's talk about her then. So let's get her up real quick. Well, I'm not actually, but we'll get to Miriel up on screen. So, unfortunately, she did lose her sight. But does that mean it's over for Miriel as a character yet? Actually, one interesting thing that someone mentioned that I actually thought, wow, that's actually crazy, is that when, of course, that wave is going to come over her and she's looking at it, she's not actually going to be able to see it because she's blind now. So that's an interesting thing. So it's going to make the whole moment even more thing. But one thing I actually want to say before, and I thought, so I'll be honest, I was a bit, don't say worried, but I've seen Cynthia Robinson in other stuff before, and I wasn't the best fan of her character, of her characters and acting. But she did an excellent job, I think, for Miriel, and I think, I just want to say that as well because she did a great job, and she looks confident here. But now the black sails come past where her father has now passed away. Where do you see this going, Lucas? What does Miriel initially have to do at the beginning of season 2 in order to, maybe potentially say, survive, keep her reign? First of all, she has to be crowned, doesn't she?
True, yes, of course, that has to happen. And the thing is, she kind of told Galadriel that they will come back. So she will start a military thing, recruiting and stuff like that for the upcoming war she is planning on the orcs and the Southlands, Mordor. And I don't know if people will be happy about that because will propose it with, we have to help the elves. And the people of Numenor won't like that.
We're going to help the elves and then they're going to take our jobs.
I have to go on record as saying that was maybe my least favorite part of the entire first season. Was one elf shows up, suddenly they're worried about taking these immortal beings taking their jobs. That was, it was a plot point that could have been thought through more thoroughly.
That was not a high point for sure.
That and Arondir hyping up the people of the village was also so. Say it louder. That was also
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
But
I feel like those
what
sorts of scenes are
was
so difficult to do, you know? I mean, you have like hyping up the people around you has been done so many times in so many ways that unless it feels very essential to the story, it just feels kind of tropey, I think, in most
Yes.
situations.
that's fair. But if we want to talk about a high point, we can go to the Menotama, where firstly, I'm joking. I just want to
Good one. Good one.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
that's
got to
good.
do with Menotama here.
Just don't
But
throw anybody in the pit. Okay.
yeah. But I'll get this nice shot up of Numenor while we talk about this next part. So it is an
I will say this.
Go ahead.
They do make Numenor look great. Armenelos look great in these
Agreed.
shots, but I was never fully convinced when they had the street shots, and even when they had in the interior of the temple. I was never fully convinced in there that it was a living, breathing society. And I know that they built all of that was practical, but I think there was something about the color choices, or maybe even the way they shot it. Obviously, there were different teams, and there are different crews at every location, but there was something about the street scenes in Armenelos and the inside of the palace scenes that just they didn't quite touch for me. And I know that that's not what this episode is about, but I just wanted, since we were talking temporarily about low points, that was one point that always stuck with me, as I felt like they could have. There was some.
Jason, I have a question for you.
That's just me.
I have a question for you, Jason, that sort of veers into the predictional side of this sort of thing. I was mentioning earlier that the COVID regulations in New Zealand made it difficult to have large-scale crowd scenes and stuff like that. Do you think that is your issue with it would be solved by having more extras and it feeling more alive in that way, or is it something else about the city itself that is causing you to feel like that?
And I'm sorry, my connection got a little bit weird for a second, but I think your question was it because of the amount of people there, or just the overall vibe
Yeah,
of
do you
it?
think it would be solved if they're able to have more people and create more sort of vivacity in that way?
Possibly, and it wasn't that they were like missing people. It was just I never believed that was a market. Like when they were cutting fish or trading things.
Right.
There was something about it it just felt very much like a TV set. It didn't feel like a living, breathing town.
Yeah, it was too clean. I think that's the problem there.
I have a shot on screen right now, which I think is one of the examples where we would probably see more people in the background. I think that dinner scene, that was like another one where it did feel a bit small. And I think, as to your question, Gregory, I think it's an interesting thing because House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Of course, it'll be spoilers. Some say 5 seconds. I'll say some spoilers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, so of course, when that's crowning scene of Aegon, and you look at the crowd that's there for the crowning, and of course, probably only 50 of them are extras, but it looks like the whole arena's filled up full of people. And I was thinking, of course, with extras, COVID, I understand that, but they could have, in some ways, just added more people digitally, or just done it so it looked like there were more people there, because clearly with House of Dragon they were able to do it only having 50 people. So unless, of course, you're in the industry, so if I'm say something wrong, then let me know.
No, it's not, and I think you're totally on track. What Andrew Mena says in the chat, I think, is completely on point. Like in Rings of Power, we're getting so many situations where we're with the main characters throughout these crowd scenes, which obviously you're going to spend most of your time there. But compare that to House of Dragon, whether it's the Aegon crowning scene or whether it's the scene, some of the scenes where they're the royals are going undercover through King's Landing and stuff like that, and you're getting these close-ups and these like intimate shots of like the average person, and we're seeing what like the world looks like when you're not a main character. And I think that really makes the world feel lived in a really nice way. So I definitely think that that they could use more of that for season 2.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, not to go down this road again, but Peter Jackson did a great job of world building. Someone else wrote that the first 20 minutes of Fellowship of the Ring. Andrew wrote that as well. You see the world building there. You focus on some random hobbit. It doesn't matter that you don't know who he is, but he's a farmer and he's having a drink at the bar. You don't, and sure, they show him for a second and that's okay. Or they show the farmer's wife, or they show, Rosie Cotton, who you really don't know who Rosie Cotton is till much later anyway. So it just shows that there's this population of a city that's living and breathing, or just shows the bartender like rubbing the mug for a second. Like there's just really none of that. And I know that that's either a DP issue or an editing issue. I hope that they do that more. I hope that they try a little bit more of that in season 2.
Yeah. I'll say Sam knows who Rosie Cotton is.
Sure, he sure does. He sure does.
And I think over once we finish around this topic of Numenor, I think that is a fair thing to talk about. I think maybe hopefully in season 2 we will get more of that. But I think, of course, being in England, etc., so that could impact them, make it easier. But I think there is a way they could do it, and let's hope so. Because if by season 2 we're still having these same talks around that, then there is a problem there somewhere. But we'll just have to wait and see. But what I do want to actually talk about, firstly, I'm going to get it up on screen because there's an interesting conversation that I want to get onto, because we can first discuss it for season 1, but then we can discuss it for how it will be overall in the show. So it's about the armies, the navy. What is Numenor like so far? So I'll get it up now here. So we've got a picture, of course, the recruiting scene that I saw a comment in. First of all, this again talks about the extras. So, but first of all, let's get up that comment. I think I saw it a bit up. Here we go, Corey Castle's comment. So I'm going to read it out, then I'll forward it to you guys. One of my questions is the depiction of Numenorian military strength. This thing of training a few dozen recruits in the street seems wrong. Numenor should have a mighty military system, shouldn't it? So I'll forward that on to you guys. But first thing I would like to say is I think it's an interesting thing with time compression, because you don't really, it's hard because Numenor they have Pelagia, they have ex-colonies there, but also they have not a good army. They have a military strength, but then at the same time, it's only been hundreds of years. So it's like it's into the Second Age. So it is quite confusing on this regard. So do you think what we were seeing here actually, in fact, is maybe the beginning, of course, starting from Tar Meneldor when we go to Tar Vallandil, of course, even back as Elros, and then maybe the period between maybe Tar Meneldor and then Tar Aldarion, where the army starts to grow, because that's when the Guild of Adventurers begins, etc. So do you think we're seeing that period of Numenor in late Numenor, that in season 2, once Midiel says on that rock, we will come back in strength, they're going to come back with the big ass probably navy that we're probably expecting in season 1? And then that is a kind of thematic thing they're trying to play with because of time compression and showing the armies and the naval power of Numenor growing, of course, which could be coinciding with Pharazôn's rise to power. Because remember, that's the thing he wanted. We saw in that discussion, he wants those coals, he wants the wood, he wants he wants everything from Numenor, the ores, the riches. So that's my take on it. So does anybody want to take over from me?
Sure. Yeah. I certainly hope so. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, they had the Haven of Umbar. They had so many ports already that they had established. They were already supposed to be a mighty navy. So they better kick it. The showrunners better kick it into high gear then and show us that mighty navy, even if they didn't show us that this time. Because I think that not showing it this time, there's going to be a long way that they're going to have to take these characters and Numenor as a character, right? Because if you're a casual viewer, you might not you might think, oh, well, maybe they're an island nation and they just never have had any interaction with Middle Earth or hardly any at all. So they don't need a navy. And now they're going to need one. You know, how are we, the rise of Elendil, who is just a captain here in season 1, is there going to be a big story arc to get him to be this king that we all believe is a king? So that's going to be, they're going to need to start really kicking that in season 2 for all of that.
I was kind of worried about that as well. You know, I mean, obviously, and I didn't really think about this till this moment, because it was sort of like, really, you know, 3 ships. You know, I think we all saw that criticism and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is, you know, if we just accept the fact that they're bending the lore a little bit especially in terms of timeline and stuff, you know, why would a nation in the middle of the ocean that has never really had beef with anybody, at least as far as how they're sort of portraying it, have a standing army or even really a powerful navy? Their navy is more, you know, a coast guard, as it were, you know, a group of people, great mariners, but not necessarily warlike. And I think that, you know, I'm actually reminded of in world global history, like, you know, the United States never had a standing army until after World War II. And the reason that the United States was able to build up its economic wealth towards the end of the 19th century and first part of the 20th century was in large part because of that, because it was a country that had trading policies, isolationist policies, and stayed out of the wars of other countries and their affairs. And I think that maybe that's what we're seeing here with Numenor. And that's actually a pretty strong parallel in terms of how we're going to see this unfold, is that Numenor's downfall, in a sense, starts to loom as they become involved in the military affairs of other places. And I do think we're going to see this relatively peaceful trading nation evolve into a militarized nation. And I think that will be actually maybe a very cool thing to see unfold throughout the show.
Indeed. I think you, Lucas, will get to in a second. I think, Gregory, you just basically said what Priscilla TV has said. An island nation that turned us back to Middle-earth, leaving abandoned colonies behind. So it is okay not to have a standing army, only have a navy to guard their shores. That's pretty much what you said. I think I saw another one in chat. Elrond the Oathbreaker says, why would they send their best army to help an elf and a low man to Middle-earth? So yeah, that is a fair point. I think that is a really fair point. Oh, it looks like we've got the 6 bots in chat. So while I saw that out, Lucas, you go ahead.
I think we will see starting of the army, as said before. But we have to look at 2 events here, because we know that there will be a war, the war of Sauron against the elves, and I think that that war will be fought with Miriel on top, because in the lore that's Tara Minas Tirith, the king of Numenor. And the second time we see it will be when Ar-Pharazôn will go to Umbar and take Sauron as captive, probably in season 3-4. And we have a lot of time between that. And I think in one of the upcoming seasons, we will have a time jump. I think that we will jump somewhere about 10 years into the future.
I think that could be a possibility. Do you guys think we could get a time jump at some point?
Yeah.
After you, Jason.
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, that's totally possible. We don't need to, I think, because we're right at 3 elven rings. We're going to be making all the other rings. And, you know, Elendil and Isildur are already adults. Of course, they're Numenorians, so they could live. I can't remember how much longer they live, but they live a few hundred years. So, I mean, it's totally possible we could have a time jump. Mm-hmm. And who knows, maybe they saw the success of time jumps with another show that we discussed earlier, and the showrunners are going to be like, you know what, we need a time jump, whether they planned on it or not.
The thing is, for the elves, a 10-year time jump is not much, and I think that after Sauron takes over in Mordor, we will need a time jump to see all the orcs being produced, being bred. And Numenor needs a time jump for the building of so many ships they need. Because I don't think that it will seem plausible if that will just happen in 2 episodes. I mean,
I
do that.
About, I'd say 7 or 8 months ago, so significantly before the season 1 came out, I saw something that said that the show will be compressing, I think they said 2,000 years into 70. Now, here's the thing. I don't want to say this is like some leak, because even though I think I remember at the time this feeling like a reputable source to me, I have looked hard to try to find the same source, and I can't find it. So it could be wrong, but I would really like to see that, because I think it would give us the ability to see, or even if they, let's say like we jumped ahead 30 years or something, and we see that maybe between season 2 and season 3, and because the Numenorians live several hundred years, so we wouldn't be losing any of those human characters. But some of the younger characters that we have, Isildur and Theo, and we would get to see them mature into adults. And again, does Theo become one of the Nazgul and stuff like that? We'd get to see those transformations not happening to teenagers. And I think that there would be a lot of value in skipping ahead. So wherever this mystery source that I originally saw this came from, I hope it's right, personally.
And okay, I think I agree. And to add to your point, Kieran Khan says we need a time jump for all that mithril mining, establishment of colonies, rings, Nazgul, and later for building of Gondor and Arnor. I do think that the building of Gondor and Arnor will be interesting, because I'll let you ahead, but first he mentions that you see how quickly that tower was built. Of course, that happened in one season. Of course, Arnor Gondor is going to be more than one tower, but like, do you think it could work when they do it quickly? So I'm still in two minds about that, whether I actually will do a time jump for that. But Lucas, I see you've got so do you want me to put that on screen?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yep, we'll do that.
Because when I hear Gondor, that can be quite interesting for people, maybe.
Go for it. Okay, let's see. Let me see if I can. There we go.
Yes. Also, a thing that will be interesting if they will talk about the connection between the kings of Numenor and the lords of Andunia, because we know Andunia doesn't appear on the map and stuff like that. And if that will be a concern in the show, because I think it's very important to point that out, because, well, it all connects back to Edoros, of course, and Elrond, and reconnects eventually. So we know that stuff. And because the comment talked about Arnor and Gondor, I think that will be season 5 then. And we have to fill that gap in between.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah, that is the tricky thing about it, because of course you've again stressed the importance of the Lords of Andernai and how that will represent it in the show. So yeah, and that time jump, let's even see what chat is saying of time. 81% say yes to time jumps. Yeah, that I think partly relays that. But one thing I want to do I think this shot really does show not this one. We can start. We'll start off with this one. So this shot of Midiel first. Let's get back up there. I'm sure season 2. I think the overall point prediction is that season 2 First of all, that army will probably not look like that. It'll probably be like hundreds, maybe even thousands more. I think that's a possibility. But one thing that just makes me feel like they could have still done it is this shot here. Like,
Hi.
That's a great shot of Lucas.
yeah, yes,
Right.
amazing.
There's a lot of CG in that shot.
Ooh. But yeah, this shot of the ships, like this show that
Yeah.
Numenor do have a fair military. Like it's not too bad. So maybe in season 2 we will see that in full force. Of course, you have the whole moment of Kiriato. I think next season, as another prediction, we are getting the War of the Elves and so on because we already have a 2-episode battle. Does that potentially mean the Battle of the Guathalo? That is probably going to be the case. And of course, what we know is that Sauron gets utterly routed while the Armada goes up the River Guathalo, and then he gets routed. He flees back to Mordor. So hopefully, I think to wrap up our discussion on Numenor for the time being, that is where I think, does everybody agree? That's where we're going with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If we do a time jump, can we have like a montage of like a bunch of guys building ships, and then they play the Eye of the Tiger?
There we go.
Just totally cut out, like just total non sequitur. Time
that
jump
would be
montage, rock, 80s rock. It's got to be 80s.
Rising up on the sundering seas.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I think actually, one talking about the Sundering Seas was one of the most beautiful shots of the show as well. But we've got 15 minutes left, so while we
Hello
get
again.
back up there, yes. I think we need to talk about this man because we never really got to use in the title. It is Mr. Isildur. The last thing, yeah, Isildur. The last thing we see of our good friend, the sailor, he is trapped under a burning house. And of course, from footage that we took, legally we did not take any footage. Footage that bypasses the public, the lights out. They got a video of Isildur on Beric slowly surviving and getting away from the broken house and rubble. So that is, sorry, spoiler alert, you should basically know Isildur survives. Like, I don't think that's fooling anyone here, at least in this chat.
No, but wait, they already released that video?
Yes, that is on the internet somewhere, but for legal reasons, we're not showing that. So if you want to go find that, we go to the Twitter webs.
Harry, what's the video? I'm sorry. What's the video?
Isildur on horseback, riding away, but Aragorn, when he gets on the horse and then he returns to Helm's Deep in the movies and he's all like that over the horse, it's basically that, but with Beric. And that was shot. Someone recorded that happening from a forest afar. So we do kind of confirmation out of that. So if you want to go check it out later. So he survives. But where is he off to? Because you also, again, from those leaks, had a tombstone which said, I think, to the coast or to something, but something on the coast. So the two options are he either teams up with Adar or goes to Pelargir where he meets Erondir, Bronwyn, and Theo. So what do you guys think? We'll start with Jason and we'll go down. Where do you think you see Isildur's story going?
It would be interesting. Okay, maybe he explores a bit more, even though he technically becomes king of Arnor. Maybe they show him exploring more of Middle Earth on his way back and falling in love with it all, and putting that spark into his father and his whole family of, hey, maybe we need to settle here. Maybe we need to leave entirely. Maybe there's a bit of that. And maybe, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have him cross the stream, so to speak, and have him meet up with Arondir and Bronwyn and Theo or not. But I don't know. Is anybody still holding out that Theo may be a ringwraith eventually too?
Yes, some people are talking about that. So yeah, that would be an interesting possibility. So yeah, it looks like Lucas has joined back, so we'll get him in there. But while we do that, Gregory, I'll pass that over to you.
Yeah, I'm just going to build on what Jason's saying. I think that one of the most likely things we'll see is him start to develop relationships in Middle Earth, perhaps Pelargir, but that will be sort of the foothold for when the fall happens. They have a place to go. They have allies, they have friends, and maybe, as we know, the Numenor, I think we could even see this evolution where it starts out as a trading post before they realize that they are against Farazan and everything he stands for, so to speak. Although maybe there's an argument they already know that, but the point being that this region and these people that Isildur ends up becoming friends with in this upcoming season, whether it's Theo and Bronwyn and all them, or whether it's people we haven't met yet, that it ends up being the place that will become their home in a sense, or at least a place they feel safe to come to.
I like that. I think.
Oh, hey, maybe he's gonna meet up with Waldrig and like kick Waldrig's ass or something. More
I have a
Waldrig, more
wild theory.
Waldrig.
I have a wild theory on that.
Priscilla says Isildur
That
will
is-
marry
is-
Antimo's fiance. That's hilarious. You don't think
Indeed.
Valandil would be the one to do that?
Ooh. Could be. It's interesting with Valandil, I think, talking about it, because I think, unless Lucas, you want to slap up the map again, that is one of the names of Isildur's sons, I believe.
It is.
Valandil. There we go.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll slap that up here. So, that looks like Africa.
That makes
The
me
continent.
curious. I'm curious what you guys think about the fact that Valandil is one of Isildur's sons. I think that is a clue that I've been looking at as it's going to play into their relationship as it develops, and something that Valandil does. I think it also probably implies that Valandil is not long for this world ultimately.
Wait,
But
did
what
you
do
say Valandil is one of Isildur's sons?
Yes.
He is?
You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes,
I know that. I'm saying, but you talking about in show Valandil being one of Isildur's sons?
Oh no.
No,
You mean
no,
the
no.
current Valandil? No.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
No,
not
I'm
saying
saying
that.
the
I
implication.
don't have him
of-
on here. I
Okay,
don't
fair.
have him on here, Valandil. That's because that's the half-elven tree, and
That's
But
fair.
my question is more about the implication from that like that fact that Isildur names his son Valandil
Yeah.
implies to me that we're going to see a lot more of this character, and that he's going to play an important role that earns Isildur naming his son after him, probably in a manner in which he dies, is my guess. But what do you guys think? Is there how could you potentially see that unfolding, or do you have a different opinion?
I am of the mind. First of all, I've always bought into that theory, and I think we could see that, and I thought that from the get-go, because the fact that Valandil and Isildur's relationship in season 1 is not, the best. It's like they do get into quite a lot of fights. So it is an interesting thing. So I do think they are really going to make up at some point, and I think that will result in them getting that even tighter bond with each other, which I think is important. And maybe, of course, as you said, he is going to end up potentially dying at some point, and that adds it to even more than Isildur has a son called Valandil. And I think, here's a nice picture of on screen where you saw my lovely face instead of Isildur, Ontimo, and Valandil. So yeah. Anybody else?
I think it's just an Easter egg.
Fair.
They will probably name it "I'll name you after a good friend of mine," and that's it. I think.
Yeah, I mean, it could just.
But
be
I have
Easter egg.
some.
Yeah, you had a theory, Lucas, earlier. You were about to say you had a theory
Yes.
about something.
That Isildur will try to make himself some kind of boat in Pelargir and tries to go back to Numenor by himself, which of course will fail. And we probably will get a scene quite similar to the beginning of to episode 3, that he will be picked up by someone, but this time it's the other way around. It's not a man that picks up an elf, but it's an elf that picks up a man, and that's how we will get introduced to Círdan.
Hildan.
Ooh,
I knew
okay.
it. That's very
Sure.
I like
nice.
that.
Very, very nice. Yeah. Does everybody else want to talk about that theory? If not, then I think that almost that mirroring, that juxtaposition that happens in the seasons, I think is something that the showrunners do indeed like to do. I think for the first scene also being important to the last scene with the Sauron reveal with Finrod again, they do like that almost cyclic idea, and I think we see Elendil find Galadriel, and then now we have Círdan almost finding Isildur, and I think that would be I think the way to say it is poetic.
The sea is always right.
The sea is indeed always right, and let's get that.
J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, that was another one of the things. The sea is always right. That was quite interesting. But you know what? Here's the sea. Here's the ships. Yeah, I think this is what Thiggy was talking. I'm sorry to say Thiggy. Lucas was talking about. So yeah, I think that is a nice theory, Lucas. Thank you for that. Thank you, my friend. So that is, I think we've hit that up as well. So any final predictions? Oh yeah, one thing I've seen that in chat. Actually, no, I won't say it. I won't say it. I'll keep that for next week. Okay. Okay, I'll put this one final comment up. Isildur is so far nothing. He will have to find some development for sure because he's not king material at the moment. And maybe having this moment with him will hopefully change that for him. So around Numenor and Isildur, anybody have any final predictions? Nope. I think we've covered it pretty well today.
I would hope that they show some growth with him and that they don't make him be like the sort of rebellious teenager that he was in season 1, and that they start to show him, grow into a responsible adult that eventually is king and then is irresponsible again. But at least he's responsible for a little while.
Yeah.
And so go ahead, Greg.
I was just say his arc will be so much more meaningful if we see him come into his own before he gives into the corruption.
That's fair. And what you viewers, the chat think, Isildur, Pelagi with Aronde 62%, with Adar 20%, Explore Middle Earth 17. So it is still up and out there. So it has been, of course, it's been less of us today, but I still think we've still lived up to it. It's been quite a lovely discussion with you fine folks. So I want to, first of all, thank you, Lucas. I'll get to you in a second.
Sorry, we just didn't go in this direction, but I had a prediction that I thought of during the week that just doesn't relate to these two. Do you mind if I jump in with it?
Go for it.
All right. I was thinking about like the map and where we see and a particular area where the Harfoots are traveling and what that land becomes later on. And some of it, is Ravanian and stuff, and some of that becomes, Mirkwood. The Greenwood becomes Mirkwood, but a big portion of that becomes the Brownlands. And what the Brownlands were before they became the Brownlands was and this is the area where they talk about the Grove, right? And all these, like, this sort of beautiful area. That's where the Entwives tend their crops.
Yep.
And it just occurred to me that, I guess I'll call it a prediction, but more I'd like to say that if they don't take the opportunity to give us Entwives when we have that chance, and that's literally where they are, and we know that in the Second Age, Sauron destroys those lands in the battle with Numenor and turns them into the Brownlands, then that will be a huge missed opportunity. So that's my little prediction. I was thinking we're going to get season 2 or 3.
I like that.
They hinted at San Diego Comic-Con. They hinted that maybe we've already seen an Entwife, so it seems as if Entwives are in the future.
Let's hope.
When we saw the meteor
go past,
and
I could see that.
Yeah, someone asked them, are we going to see Entwives? And one of them cheekily responded, maybe you've already seen one in the trailer.
Interesting. I'll have to rewatch.
Also, those two forests will burn at some point.
Yeah.
Yep. Indeed. But we do have actually we've got two super chats coming, but we'll go for this first one, which is a nice, interesting discussion from the ghost of Baba Novak. Isildur will save one of Nimloth's fruit. Let Beric have a bite from it, then throw it overboard while sailing for Middle-earth. Oh my god, that is a good suggestion. I think. Yep. More Beric and Isildur action is always good. So yeah, again, thank you for the super chat. And we also have one from Jude the 4th. Just found the channel, 2 marks. What season does Elendil found and becomes first king of Gondor? Keep up the good work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So what season does Elendil found and become king of Gondor? I think, I like to hear you guys first, but I think season 5-ish. That's where I'm thinking. That's where my head's at. Do you guys agree, disagree?
Could be the end of season 4, but yeah, season 5.
Could be.
Almost certainly.
Yeah. I think that would make
So
sense.
I think they will land in Middle-earth at the end of season 4. Because we also know that Elendil lands more in the north, and Isildur and Anarion land where Gondor is. So I'm quite interested how they will build Minas Anor and Minas Ithil. How similar they will be to what we see in the movies. But that's in the far future. We have 9 years or so till that happens.
Wow, thinking of it like that is quite a way to look at it. But I thought, why not? Why not do this? So someone in chat, let's bring it up. Yeah, again, thank you, Jude, for the super chat. So someone says here, hope we get extended footage at some point. They're obviously done loads more. Well, if we see this, we had this from the father of Emily Child Villiers. So it does look like they do have a few more stuff to show, hopefully, at some point. So any predictions as to what this could have been? Maybe something in Tyrion, perhaps?
I imagine it's her on the ship.
Could it have been more of her dream sequence in episode 8?
Maybe.
With Sauron?
Could be.
Going deeper into some other background stuff?
Yep. What about you, Lucas?
I think that's episode 1, when she boards the ship that brings her to Middle-earth, her and the other elves that go into war.
Ooh, that
in the beginning, the very, very beginning.
Yes, like the beginning montage before we see the thousands of ships heading towards Middle-earth. Because for whatever reason, also on the battlefield, she wears the same clothes. So why shouldn't she when she boards the boat?
That could be an interesting possibility. And if we let's see if I can actually quickly, while we are doing this, we ending in a second, any second now, but let's see how far back. Okay, we got more news on this guy as well, so we'll get on to that. But where are the pictures? Here we go. This is what I was on about. That means to the harbor, so maybe Isildur is going past that. And let's see. Oh yeah, that's the video footage of that. I don't want to play that too much. So yeah, that is all that. So yeah, go to our Twitter, which is partly run by Mr. Gregory himself. So thank you for that. And I think, what should we leave it on? We shall leave it on these two. So great stream as always. Thank you everyone in chat. The discussion's been great today. I want to thank everyone on the panel as well. And I think whether or not it's next week or the next stream, we will see you guys soon. So thank you all.
All right.
See you.
Thanks
Bye.
for having us.
Have a good one.